All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Field Service Powered by Jobops webinar presented by Stacy Schultz and myself, Ryan Rick. Agenda today. We're going to be going through a brief history of who Jobops is, kind of where we came from, and who we are. Going through some field service benefits specific to today's topic, and then going through a demonstration and following up with a question and answer session. So who is Jobops? Since 1994, Jobops, that was the year that Synergistic Software released a product called Jobops, which is integrated to the MAS90 and MAS200 accounting and financial systems. Today we have more than 500 customers representing over 5,000 end users that are in and across North America today. We are a division of Synergistic Software based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and currently have and sell our software through, it's about 55 solution providers across the United States. More specific to today, the field service application was released back in June of 2004 and has been evolving ever since. Field service powered by Jobops can help your business too. Based on what we've heard in the marketplace out there, some feedback and things that people in this type of industry are looking for. That first off, quickly and efficiently be able to schedule and dispatch technicians for service calls. In the case of emergencies, when a customer calls and their server breaks, if you're a computer manufacturer or in that industry, you need to quickly be able to get a technician scheduled out there and have accurate information so they're not going through 20 questions with the customer when they're having problems. Accurately schedule tasks and the components needed for repairs. Again, going back to the customer service end of it, and being able to proactively know what needs to be repaired, what is going to be required of the technician, and are my technicians that I'm dispatching going to have the materials that are required to complete any of these scheduled tasks. The cost associated to that specific call on a job-by-job or call-by-call basis, which ultimately will increase the customer satisfaction, and again, as a result, will drive additional revenue for your organization. And then also, finally, to be able to capture and retain the complete equipment and services history over the life cycle of a service call, preventative maintenance contract, those types of things to give you visibility as to during the life of that job service contract, was it as profitable as you anticipated at the outset? That being said, we will pass things over to Stacy Schultz, who will be doing the demonstration.
Hi, everyone. Bear with me just one second, and I'll bring up the MAS screen. What we're going to do today is go into our field service and dispatch board, which is going to access my Outlook calendar. From here, the way the board's laid out, we have the days of the week with the times of the days across the top. We have our technicians going down the left-hand side and their status right next to them. The gray blocks are times that are not available. The white blocks are times that are available for you to schedule your service calls. And the blocks that are on here are service calls that are already scheduled. Down on the bottom, we have all our open tickets, or all our service tickets, as well as some alerts that are automatically generated by the system based on whether or not the service ticket was scheduled in the proper amount of time, whether it's been scheduled at all, whether or not the service has started, etc. And if we highlight any of the service tickets, we can get some equipment information if we have it down in the right-hand corner. So if I scroll down to a different one, you can see what the piece of equipment is, what the problem was with it, if we have a warranty on the parts for the labor or on the parts or the labor. So today what we're going to do is we're going to start a new service call. And on the service ticket entry screen, there's a lot of different ways that you can pull in the information that you're looking for depending on what you know at this point. If it's a new customer that you haven't serviced before, you can create the customer on the fly. If it's an existing customer with a new piece of equipment, you can create that on the fly. But the easiest way is if you've actually worked with these people before and you already have serviced this particular piece of equipment, you can go ahead and select it from your equipment list, which you can see we have our item numbers as well as the serial number associated with that. So if they know the serial number, we can type it in and pull up all the information about that client. From here, the dispatcher would then write some notes about what the issue is. In this case, we'll say the server won't boot. You can have some user-defined fields associated with it. From here you can see that this product is under warranty, so this is a warranty repair. You could see if this was a preventative maintenance ticket. You could also see that whether or not this customer, you have a service agreement with this customer. It's also going to tell you approximately how much time you expect to spend on this based on the way you have the system set up. And if you don't know where this client is, you can click on the map and it'll take you out to MapQuest and map out where this client is located. And you can print this out for your technician and give it to them as part of their package for the service call. And if there's the equipment button down here, which is a toggle between the user-defined fields and the equipment information. So in this case, with this piece of equipment, this is a model Jobops C-300. It's located at 8577 Chapman. The warranty on the parts as well as the service agreement that we have with this particular client, and it's a time and material service agreement. When I accept this, it's going to be adding our service ticket to our list of open service tickets. So when I click on that, you again get your warranty or your equipment information. But some of the other stuff that you can get to from the dispatch board to help you decide who you want to assign the service ticket to, you can go to the service ticket fields. And this is more information about this particular client and this particular service call. In this case, if you have preferred technicians for that particular customer. On the parts button, if we go in there, we can see some parts that are typically associated with this piece of equipment for service calls. And in this case, there's 3 different things that typically go wrong with this. And we can see from here that Stacy's got 3 of 3 parts, Susan's got 2 of 3, and Todd's got 1 of 3. So it may be used to help us decide who we want to send out. So even though Todd's the preferred technician, we may want to send Stacy since she's got 3 of 3 parts on this. Again, it's just supplying you with more information so you can make the decision on who you want to send out on this service call. Once you decide who you want to send out on the service call, literally all you need to do is schedule it and throw it up on the calendar for when you want it to happen. And in this case, I put it on my calendar. So it automatically created an activity in my Outlook calendar saying that, okay, I have the service call from this morning, and this is the customer that I'm going to. This is my contact there. Here's some information about the equipment that I'm servicing, what the problem reported is, as well as what happened the last time we were out there. So again, it's just providing as much information. This is a template so you can include the information that you want to include. So once you're out on the service call and you bring back the information about what it is, what happened while you were out on the service call. So we'll go ahead and go into the service ticket billing now. When we're in the service ticket billing, the first thing it's going to ask us for, what technician are we billing for? So I'm going to grab myself and what service ticket were we working on, and we'll grab the service ticket that we just created. And if I highlight the piece of equipment that I was servicing, you can see I can add parts to it, I can add labor to it, and I can add other expenses. I can bill it final, or I can toggle and bill partial, depending on how I run my business. So I'm going to go ahead and bill it final, and when we go into the add parts, you can see on the top that this is a warranty repair and parts are covered under warranty, and then we also have a service agreement. So again, there's a bunch of different ways that you can put in the information about what parts you used on this service call. If you used one of the parts that typically goes bad on this one that we saw in that other list, you can go to that list and choose that part. If you had to use something else that you didn't expect to use, you can go to your inventory list and choose one of the items from your inventory list. But I'm going to grab one of my memory cards. And you can see from here, and I'm going to say I used one of them. It's a lot tracked item, so I'm going to have to put in the lot information of what lot I pulled it from. But you can see from here the unit cost is going to be $220, but the unit price is $0 because this is covered under warranty. And the reference price for what we typically charge for replacing this part is $450. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So now I have my part at $0, but we're tracking the costs associated with that part. On this screen, you can also switch to the transactions, so you can see your parts and labor and expenses that you've added. So we'll switch over to that so you can see the parts that I just added. If we go into the labor, we can say that it took me 8 hours to do this, and we can bill a different amount of hours than the hours worked depending on how you do it. It's going to show you your billable rate, and again, because this is a warranty repair and labor is covered under warranty, the billable rate is going to be $0 with a reference rate of $50 an hour. And in this box, we'd go ahead and put what kind of work we performed while we were out there. So let's say we, replaced memory card. And when I click OK, it's going to allow me to put in additional labor to the same ticket if I choose to. But when I get out of that screen, you can now see that I have labor and parts both associated with a service ticket. We can also add expenses. So depending on what kind of expense categories we use, I'm going to go ahead and add some mileage to this. And I'm going to say that we had to go 100 miles round trip for this particular service call. You can also see that our unit price is 38 cents a mile, which is actually 37.5 cents a mile, because what we're going to bill is $37.50 on the mileage. So we'll say OK and exit out of here. So now we have one of each of the different kinds of expenses we can add to this particular service call. From this screen, we can also get into the, if we go into the little dollar sign here, we can break it down by parts, labor, and expenses between what's been previously billed, what's already been posted, what's unposted, and what's unbilled. So we can see it in all the different buckets if we choose to. You can also get to your service agreement. So if you wanted to know what your service agreement was with this particular client, you'd be able to go to that information as well, or the equipment information for this particular piece of equipment. But at this point, now that I've added all my everything that happened out on the service call, what I'm going to do is I'm going to update. You can either update changes or you can update an invoice depending on who's responsible for what. And I'm just going to go ahead and update an invoice. And when I do that, it's going to take me out to sales order invoice data entry. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that and get out of there and get out of the screen. And I'm going to go ahead and do my daily updates so we can see how this information impacts the system. So there's my sales journal. And we don't need to print this stuff, but we do want to update that. So now we've updated everything in the financial side. So now if we go into our equipment asset record, you can look it up by the serial number again. And so I'm going to grab the serial number that we've been looking at this point. There's a lot of different information we're tracking out here. We're tracking the warranty dates on the parts and the labor, and if this particular item was remanufactured and you have a remanufactured warranty on parts and labor, that would be shown here as well. It's going to show what kind of service agreement you have with this customer, who the customer is, where they're located. You can change the customer. You're also going to be able to see through the life of this particular piece of equipment when you've been servicing it, what your total revenue is versus what your total costs are. So in this case, you can see that this is a big loser because we're losing money left and right on this particular item because our revenue is $3,500, but our costs are almost $5,000. You can also go into the hierarchy on this particular item, and that's going to show us with other items, subcomponents of this particular item, what stuff we want to track. And in this case, you're also going to be able to see the warranty on those parts. So if you have parts that your vendor warranted to you that are in this, you'd be able to track their warranties to be able to go back to the vendor and get, if you had to replace it, get the part replaced for free. So again, it's supplying you with more information about this particular equipment that you're trying to track. You can also go into your transactions that have happened on this particular piece of equipment. And you can see this is the invoice that we just created. And from here, we can drill into the history on that particular invoice. And you can see that we had $37 worth of revenue, but $380 worth of costs on this. So this is one of the reasons why this is such a big loser. But if we go to the history, we can drill into the invoice for it, for this service call. And you can also drill into the job that's associated with it to be able to see what parts were used on this, as well as who worked on it and what they actually did on it. So you're immediately going to be able to see all the information about what happened on this particular service call. And if you go to the profit analysis, you'd be able to see what all your costs are and how they break down. And last but not least, what we'll go through next is the actual service agreements themselves. For each customer, you can have multiple service agreements. And I'm going to grab one of our existing ones. And we have a bunch of header information that will default in. But realistically, if you put the details in, you're never going to get to the header information, or it's not going to be used. If we go within the details, you can see that we have two different items that we have under the service contract. One of the items is our CSIS 300, and you can see the contract start date and end date, but you can also see that this is a time and materials billing contract that we have with them. Standard service hours is going to be 2.5 hours each time we go out there, and we're charging $50 an hour. If we look at the same thing for our modem, it shows us the start and stop date, but it also shows this one is prepaid, so they pay for it in advance on a regular basis, and we'll figure out what that regular basis is when we go to the billing. But you can also see that labor is covered and parts are covered. So if we go ahead and go to the billing at this point, and this is again associated with the modem, it's billed quarterly, and it's been billed through July of this year, and the billing rate is $19.95 per quarter. And if we go to the preventative maintenance, and actually let's switch to the other item, we can go to the preventative maintenance contracts that we have set up for this particular piece of equipment for this particular client. In this case, we have two preventative maintenance contracts that we want to do for them. Every 3 months, we want to go out and clean this particular piece of equipment, and we're going to charge $25 for the 1 hour we're expected to stay out there. And labor is covered under this. So if there's parts that are found, we'll cover those, or they'll pay for those. And then once a year, we have a preventative maintenance one to go out and inspect this piece of equipment. And it's going to be on a yearly basis. It's going to take us 2.5 hours to do. And it's going to cost us $150. So again, you can break down the service agreement into a lot of different areas to dictate what you want to do for covering what equipment do you want to cover at the client, what kind of billing do you want for that piece of equipment. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to open this back up for questions and answers. So if you want to hold on just 1 second, I will unmute you all.